Okay, I want you to picture a scenario. It's, let's say 4:00 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Okay.
You have just wrapped up a project you've been grinding on for, I don't know, 3 weeks. You close your laptop, you let out that massive sigh of relief, and a colleague walks by. They stop, look at you, and say, nothing.
The silence.
The silence. Or maybe even worse, they give you a flat monotone, good job, and just keep walking. And suddenly that feeling of accomplishment, it evaporates.
Mm.
Why does that moment matter so much? And why, if we're being honest, is it so incredibly awkward to navigate, whether you're the one giving the praise or, receiving it?
It's the paradox of the modern workplace, isn't it? We crave validation. I mean, it's biologically hardwired, but the moment it arrives, we just freeze, we deflect,
Or we stay silent.
or we stay silent because we're afraid of sounding cringe.
Cringe is the absolute enemy here.
Yeah.
But today, we are pushing past the cringe. We are doing a deep dive into the mechanics of how to give and receive compliments at work. And before you tune out thinking this is just some polite grammar lesson about saying please and thank you, let's be really clear about the stakes here.
Right. And looking at the source material we have today, which centers on this comprehensive guide from Speak English Like an American from July 2025. This isn't just about manners. It's about psychological safety, retention, and what the Harvard Business Review calls emotional currency.
I love that term, emotional currency. It makes it sound so valuable, which I suspect it is.
It is.
So our mission today is pretty simple. We are going to build a toolkit. We're going to look at the data on why we hesitate, the specific art of giving that separates, a leader from just a boss, the art of receiving without being weird, and the cultural intelligence you need to survive in a U.S. workplace.
It's essentially a roadmap to building trust.
So let's start with the obstacle. Why is this so hard? I mean, I consider myself a nice person, but I definitely hold back on giving compliments. I'll think, oh, Sarah's presentation was smart, but I won't actually say it.
And why not?
I stop myself because I don't want to look like I'm sucking up,
Mhm.
or I just assume she already knows she did a good job.
That assumption is the first trap. The source material references this fascinating research from social psychologists Erica Boothby and Vanessa Bonds. They identified a specific cognitive bias around this exact hesitation.
What's the bias? Is it just like general social anxiety?
It's more specific. We consistently underestimate the positive impact our words will have, and we wildly overestimate how awkward the interaction is going to be.
So in my head, I'm thinking, if I tell him I liked his approach to the data, he's going to think I'm weird or that I want something from him.
Exactly. You're scripting a catastrophe that just never happens. The data shows that in reality, the receiver just feels, well, good. They feel seen. That awkwardness barrier is almost entirely a fabrication of the giver's mind.
But hold on, is there a risk of it being self-serving? Like, am I just complimenting people to get them to like me? That feels a bit manipulative.
Well, here's the twist in the research. Being nice is actually a little selfish, biologically speaking. The act of giving praise triggers a dopamine release in the giver, not just the receiver.
Wow.
It's a positive feedback loop. When you break that silence, you feel better.
So holding back is actually robbing both of you of a dopamine hit.
Precisely. And in a high-stress work environment, that dopamine is fuel. If you operate in silence because you're afraid of being awkward, you're essentially starving the room of energy.
That makes a lot of sense. But okay, let's say I buy the science, I want to do it.
Yeah.
We have to talk about execution.
Yeah.
Because we've all received that compliment that just feels plastic.
Oh, yeah.
The manager who read some book on leadership and now walks around robotically saying good job to everyone.
Good job. The source material actually calls this out explicitly. It's not that good job is bad. It's lazy.
What's easy?
It's the fast food of compliments. It fills the void, but it offers zero nutrition.
So how do we make it nutritious? The source outlines 7 tips for the art of giving, but I want to drill down on the ones that really move the needle.
Okay. The first and most critical rule is be specific. Specificity equals sincerity.
Give me an example of the upgrade. So how do we go from good job to something real?
Okay. So instead of saying good job on the meeting, which, could apply to anyone who just sat there, you say, you kept the group on track when the client started rambling. That saved us a lot of time.
Oh, I see the difference. That proves you are actually paying attention.
Exactly. It signals awareness. It says, I saw the specific difficulty you navigated, and I value the skill it took to do that. That builds trust because it proves you aren't just on autopilot.
It reminds me of the tip about highlighting growth versus just results.
Yeah.
This felt very growth mindset to me.
It is. If you only praise the win, hey, great sales numbers, you're praising the outcome. But if you praise the trajectory, I've seen how much more confident you are in your pitch delivery lately, you are praising the person's development.
That feels much more supportive. It acknowledges the struggle, not just the victory trophy.
And it's incredibly effective for retention. People stay in jobs where they feel their personal growth is being watched and validated.
Now we have to touch on the danger zone. The source material waves this big red flag around appearance. And honestly, this is where I think people get the most nervous in a modern office.
Yes. In a professional U.S. context, commenting on appearance it's a minefield.
Even if it's positive, like, you look great today.
It's risky. It shifts the focus from the brain to the body. Even a well-intentioned comment like, you look so nice in that dress, can feel diminishing in a corporate boardroom.
Right.
It can imply that their value is decorative.
Right. Like, I'm here presenting Q3 financials. Why are we talking about my clothes?
Exactly. It dilutes the professional achievement, and then you have the backhanded compliments, which are the absolute worst. The source listed one, you're smarter than you look.
Who actually says that? That sounds like a villain in a movie.
You'd be surprised. Or something subtler like, you did pretty well for a new hire.
Ouch. For a new hire, that qualifier is deadly.
It's a way of asserting dominance disguised as praise. It says, you did good, but let me remind you of your place in the hierarchy. If you find yourself about to add a fora to the end of a compliment, just stop talking.
Just stop talking is excellent life advice in general. So the rule is, focus on the work, the skill, the effort. Leave the body and the qualifiers out of it.
Correct.
Okay, so we've mastered giving. We're specific. We're focused on growth. Now we have to talk about the part that makes me sweat. Receiving.
The deflection reflex.
It's so strong. If someone says, great presentation, my immediate instinct is to say, oh, it was nothing, I just threw it together. Or, well, the team did most of the work. Why do we do that?
It's often a mix of imposter syndrome and, a cultural desire to appear humble. We think agreeing with the compliment makes us look arrogant.
Right. If I say thank you, it feels like I'm admitting, yes, I am great. And that feels kind of gross.
But flip the perspective. The source uses a brilliant analogy here from etiquette coach Tracy Hensel. She suggests viewing a compliment as a wrapped gift.
Okay.
If someone walked up and handed you a beautifully wrapped box, would you slap it out of their hand?
No, that would be psychotic.
Would you take it and say, this box is garbage, why did you give me this?
Oh.
But that is exactly what you are doing when you deflect. When you say, it was nothing, you are telling the giver, your judgment is wrong. You don't know what quality looks like. You're rejecting their attempt to connect.
Wow. When you put it that way, it's actually kind of rude to be humble.
It creates distance, it shuts the door,
Yeah.
and the giver feels foolish for even mentioning it.
So what is the fix? Because just standing there silently nodding feels weird too.
The fix is deceptively simple. 2 words. Thank you.
That's it?
That's the baseline. If
Yeah.
you want to soften it, you can say, thank you, I really appreciate that. Or thank you, I worked hard on it.
But what if it really was a team effort? I don't want to steal credit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a valid fear, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Of course. Then you accept and you pivot. You say, thank you, I'm really happy with how it turned out and the team was on fire this week. You accept the praise for your part without denying the group effort.
Ah, I see.
You don't have to throw yourself under the bus to lift others up.
That's a crucial distinction. It keeps the ball in the air instead of just dropping it.
Exactly. A compliment should open a conversation, not end one.
Speaking of conversation, let's get into the language itself. We've got the psychology down, but if you want to sound natural, especially in an American workplace, you can't talk like a textbook.
Right.
The source provided a whole word bank of idioms.
The cool factor, these are the phrases that take you from competent speaker to insider.
Right, but I don't want to just list them. I want to see if I can use them correctly. I'm going to throw a scenario at you, and you tell me which idiom from the source fits best.
Let's do it.
Okay, scenario 1. Let's say we are in a high-stakes situation. The client was angry, the deadline was impossible, everything was going wrong. But somehow, at the last minute, we finished it, and the client is happy. What do you say?
That is a classic pull it off moment. You pulled it off.
You pulled it off. Why that one specifically?
Because to pull something off implies a high risk of failure. It has a sense of relief attached to it. You wouldn't say you pulled off sending a routine email. You pull off a miracle. It acknowledges the difficulty.
Okay, so contrast that with nailed it.
Nailed it is about precision. Execution. Think of a gymnast sticking the landing. If you rehearsed a presentation 100 times and then delivered it flawlessly, you nailed it. It's cleaner.
So pulled it off is messy survival, nailed it, is perfect execution.
Exactly.
Okay, scenario 2. I want to go bigger. Maximum enthusiasm. The results weren't just good, they were record-breaking.
Then you knocked it out of the park.
The classic baseball metaphor.
It means you didn't just meet expectations, you obliterated them. You hit a home run. This is high-energy praise. You save this for the big wins.
I like that. Now let's talk about character. The source mentioned the phrase class act. To me, this sounds a bit old school. Is it still used?
It is, and it's highly potent. If someone calls you a class act, they aren't talking about your spreadsheet skills. They are talking about your integrity.
Give me an example of that.
Let's say a project failed, but you took responsibility without blaming anyone else, and you treated everyone with respect during the crisis. A colleague might say, you were a real class act during that meeting.
So that's a heavy hitter. That's a compliment about who you are.
Yes, it carries a lot of respect.
What about public recognition? We hear about giving a shout out.
A shout-out is informal public praise. You'd use this in a team meeting or a Slack channel. I want to give a shout-out to Mark for fixing the printer. It's quick, it's social, and it spreads the good vibes.
And give credit where credit is due.
That's more about fairness. It's often used to correct a misconception. Maybe the boss thinks I did the work, but actually you did the heavy lifting. I would say, I have to give credit where credit is due. This was all her idea.
I feel like using these correctly signals that you understand the culture, not just the language.
It shows you understand the nuance of the environment, and that leads us directly to the biggest piece of this puzzle, cultural intelligence.
Right. The source material is very focused on the U.S. context. And this is where things can get tricky for our international listeners.
Absolutely. The source makes a really bold point. In the U.S., compliments are not just nice to have, they are expected.
Expected, like required.
In American business culture, silence is often interpreted as disapproval.
Wait, really? So if my boss doesn't say anything, I should assume I messed up.
Many Americans will. If they turn in a report and get zero feedback, the internal monologue starts. Did they hate it? Are they mad at me? Is my job safe?
That sounds exhausting. Why is it like that?
It ties back to Hofstede's cultural dimensions, specifically power distance.
Okay, unpack that for us. What does power distance actually mean on a Tuesday morning at the office?
So the U.S. is a low power distance culture. That means the hierarchy is relatively flat. You can talk to your boss talks to you. Feedback flows constantly in both directions.
Okay.
In high power distance cultures, say, in parts of Asia or Latin America, silence from a superior might be a sign of authority or stability. Praise is reserved for exceptional moments.
So if you come from a culture where silence is normal, where the boss only speaks to correct you, and you start managing an American team,
You might accidentally demoralize your entire team. You think you're being a steady leader, they think you're cold and unappreciative.
that is a massive disconnect.
And conversely, if you go from the US to a culture like Germany or Japan, the American style of constant, awesome job, great idea, love the shoes can seem, well,
Fake.
shallow, excessive. Why are we talking about my shoes? We are here to engineer a bridge.
But in the U.S., that shallow talk serves a deep purpose, doesn't it?
It's a social lubricant. It's an icebreaker. I love your laptop sticker. Isn't about the sticker. It's a signal that says, I am friendly, I am approachable, let's collaborate.
It's an invitation.
Yeah.
It lowers the barrier to entry for a conversation.
Exactly. And this isn't just fluffy HR talk. The deep dive brought up a note from the Harvard Business Review that links this directly to brain science.
This was the part that blew my mind. The comparison to money.
Yes. Neurologically, the brain processes verbal praise in the same areas that process financial rewards.
So when you tell me you knocked it out of the park, my brain lights up as if you just handed me cash.
Similar neural pathways. It is quite literally emotional currency.
That explains why people leave high-paying jobs if the culture is toxic. They are chemically underpaid.
Precisely. If you are a manager or even just a colleague and you withhold praise, you are withholding a form of payment. You are creating a deficit.
And the flip side is, giving a compliment costs literally $0. It's free money.
It is a free resource with an infinite ROI. It improves retention, prevents burnout, and as we learned at the start, it makes you feel better too.
So let's wrap this up and look at what we've built today. We started with the fear, the idea that giving a compliment is awkward.
And we debunk that. The awkwardness is a myth. The impact is real.
We learned the art of giving. Be specific, focus on the process and growth, and for the love of everything, avoid the for a new hire qualifiers.
And we learn to receive. Stop deflecting. Accept the gift. Just say thank you.
We armed you with the vocabulary, the class acts, and the shout-outs to sound like you belong.
Yeah.
And we contextualized it all within the American need for feedback.
It's a complete toolkit for professional connection.
I want to leave you with a provocative thought that really stuck with me from the source material. We usually think of compliments as something extra, like dessert. Nice if you have it, but not essential. But given the brain science, given the connection to trust and retention, is it possible that praise is actually the main course?
If you starve your team of it, they will eventually go somewhere else to eat.
That is a sobering thought. So here's our challenge to you, the listener. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Find one person today, a coworker, a barista, anyone, and practice specificity. Don't just say nice shirt. Tell them why it works. Use one of the idioms.
See if you can pull it off without feeling awkward.
I bet you can. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.